Good morning. Welcome to another NorCal Malibra battle report. No natural disasters occurring to report on here in wonderful California. Seem to have dodged the bullets as far as the coronavirus and all my plane travels up and down the West Coast. So it looks like I'll be able to survive and produce a couple more of these battle reports. So the game plan, I think, for the next couple weeks, Weir put out that they are releasing. It looks like they're going to release the year-end FAQ and Gaining Ground Season 1 at the end of this month. So I do want to do a little Acon prep with my Arcanist, but I'll wait until March to do that with the new Gaining Grounds. In the meantime, I really had a hankering to get some guild on the table. I haven't quite finished painting everything. Hopefully with the long weekend, I can get some decent painting sessions in. The focus right now is getting a Lady J crew and a Lucius crew done. I kind of like the Lady J crew for, as I said, some good tech pieces if I take other guild masters. So that's why I was focusing on that one first. And so this week I gotta play my arch nemesis Colonel, and let's take a look at what we got here. So went Lady J. As you see, it's kind of a killy scheme rather than Lucius. I got both crews about half painted at this point. And then Sanders or Colonel dropped Von Schill on me. So this is the first time I've played Von Schill. I'm interested in seeing. I've got some comments on Von Schill. I got to say, I really like him as a master. If I was an outcast, that'd probably be the first one I would be working on. I don't know if I don't think he's the most powerful master in the faction, so to speak. But let's wait till after the game, and I'll give my thoughts on Mr. Von Schill. So we're looking at standard turf war. One thing, does anybody else notice? I feel like wedge never comes up when I use the app to generate my deployments or strats and schemes. I'm going to force wedge next time. I don't think I've ever played a wedge game, to be honest. So expect to see wedge deployment in the next battle report. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're at standard turf war, assassinate, claim jump, take prisoner, outflank, power ritual. So not a lot of scheming going on here. Um, it this would be, yeah, we'll see on my choices here. I start making mistakes right off the bat. I'm kind of giving the plot away here. So we get into Lady Justice give the leadline coat. Two reasons. One, the armor with assassinate in there just to absorb some of the damage, and then two, I know Von Schill can toss people around. And so, with Laugh Off, I know she's gonna go where I want her to go and stay there. Scales of Justice went to Judge, Killy beat her. I'll give my commentary on what I think of these models. This is the very first time I've played them. Lone Marshal went with a Watcher for some scheming, an Exorcist, Guild Steward, Death Marshal. I'll be really honest. I struggled after the Judge and the Lone Marshal were my first two choices. Figure some long range sniping and a guy that can get in there and mix it up pretty well. And I just struggled on what to take after that. So rather than going to the pool and looking at what I needed to accomplish and looking at the board, I went almost just generalist. A couple schemers. Guild Steward for some healing. Death Marshal Recruiter. So when the Exorcist died, I'd get another model out. These type of things. And I don't think I made a very, very consistent list to tackle the schemes in this particular case. It was fine for turf war, with the Watcher there. I could, flip turf markers, maybe get into the backfield, flip his turf markers. That was kind of the idea with him. So the Exorcist, I thought, okay, maybe he can put out some damage, that kind of thing. None of his tech does anything in Schill, so he's just kind of a body shooting a crossbow, running around. So we get Mr. Colonel's choices. You got Von Schill, Steam Trunk, Eric, Hannah, both very good models. Pride, interesting choice. I'll have some comments about him. I hate him as an opponent. I think he's really good. I'm a little jealous. I'm going to go back and take a look at Envy and Greed for my two factions, see if I can get the same kind of mileage that Colonel would end up getting out of Pride. Free Corps Engineer, Librarian, some good healing there. Student of Conflict. This seems to be a standard for Colonel. He just loves to hand out the fast. Use her to hand out fast. So I would end up taking. I took Assassinate. It's like, I'm going to get in his face. I'm gonna wail on Von Schill. Yeah, he's got some armor. He's got some access to shielded. But I'm just going to use that big Hankin sword of Lady J's and take him down. I also took Claim Jump with Judge, figuring he'd want to be up the field in the middle. Maybe focus my healing on Judge. Thought he was a decent take there. There's no, in some ways I thought about the Watcher. Jump in late in a turn and then jump out, hide, and then jump in at the end of the game. But then that would really dictate the turn that I jumped him in. If I did it earlier in the game, might dictate, getting him out quickly before he gets blown up. I didn't think he was tanky enough to take it. I'm not going to say what Sanders took. So I go through this. I'll explain what I was thinking he took. I assumed he took Assassinate. I'll be blunt. He always, that's one of his favorites. He likes killing enemy masters, and so if he's got a reason to. But I thought there were several potential other ones that he could take from this pool. So here we go with the shot of the table. I would be deploying on the right as you look at this. The buildings without roofs, you can't go in those. We still treated those as impassable all the way through. I got to find the little roofs. I dug these one out. I got to paint these things, make them look a little bit better. I think my painting queue is getting a little long. I think the only new item, hazardous terrain there up at the top. The hangman's thing you could see through, but if you draw any line of sight, it provides cover, similar to what we do with the well there. And everything else is the flats are concealing dense, concealing and dense, and the hurts the movement. Whatever that is, and then everything else is pretty much just blocking terrain. So Von Schill's deployment here, very tight, a little off to my left, his right, favoring that side. His entire crew. I think Von Schill. You can see Von Schill there. So he's got everything set and ready to go. I'm a bit more spread out. So you see a changeling there. I cannot find my scales of justice. I find that some of the totems to my crews, because they were just so rarely used in 2E, have disappeared in moving hobby areas around and so on. So that's another one I got to figure out, to cobble something together. But so the changeling is the scales of justice there. And then the Pale Rider is standing in, the unpainted Pale Rider is standing in for my Lone Marshal. And then you got Lady J, you've got the Guild Steward and Judge hanging out by the outhouse there. And then Death Marshal and Exorcist. Wanted to keep the Exorcist close to the Death Marshal, so if he was killed, I'd get another model out of it. So early in the in the turn, I'm going to be blunt. The first turn I took a ton of photos. I've not even put them all. It felt like by turn 3, I was taking 1 photo a turn. Um, I've got to do better. I acknowledge that. Colonel tends to put a lot more stress on gameplay, where I'm spending the time thinking about the game rather than worrying about taking photos. Oh, and that slurp was for Alex Schmidt there. Sorry, guys. Um, so gave out focus to Lady J with the Guild Steward, ran over um, to prepare to flip that next turn. Use the chain, not the change, God, the Scales of Justice to flip the turf marker on the other side. Kind of, I'm a little worried. I don't know what to expect, and while I am a defensive and reactive player in general, I very rarely do the, walk once, take a focus on the first turn. But I found myself doing that in this case. So he would end up dropping scheme markers for student conflict and giving out fast to both Eric and Hannah. So I'm a little worried there. Um, and so I'm approaching this with some amount of caution, a lot more caution than I usually do, even though I'm a pretty cautious player in general. This early turn for him, it looks like it must be in the middle of Von Schill's activation. Steam Trunks trundled forward, and he kind of, to be honest, ended up blocking himself a little bit. So he couldn't get some of his early models like Pride out and forward. But what he would end up doing is using, after getting his, upgrades out on Hannah and Eric, both of them would get rocket boots. I think Hannah might even have shielding or something else, for some defensive kit there. But both of them have rocket boots, and he would toss them forward. He'd use Von Schill to toss them forward. So now I got 2 beaters coming at me. I think we'll see that in the next photo. Yeah, so here we go. I'm sitting there. I'm staring down 2 pretty good beaters with fast on them, with rocket boots, so they have a leap, which I believe is a bonus action when they use it. And so I think a bit of my caution is warranted at here, but he is now setting the pace of the game early. That this game's going to be fun on my side of the board. Not a good thing in Turf War in general, but I didn't see. And I'm pretty conscious of that when I play, either Hoffman or Tony from Arcanist into Turf. I try to, they're both a little bit slower crews, but I do try to really push into my opponent's half of the table. In this case, I don't think Lady J is a particularly fast crew, but I'm playing much farther back, so this is going to end up being a fight on my side of the table. Not a good sign for Turf War. So you see my Exorcist just did a walk forward and take a focus action there. I ended up running and gunning, charging forward with the Lone Marshal, take a pot shot at Hannah, plinked off, shielded, and I don't think I got through the armor even. Maybe I got a point through. Minimal damage. More importantly, though, I used his bonus action, got a staggered onto Hannah. That ended up being, this is the first crew I've ever played that had access to staggered, and God, I like it. It really messes with positioning, movement. I was always annoyed when it was put on me, and that would at least take it, almost canceled out fast, and it's going to require him to take an extra AP to get forward if he wants to come in this turn. I should state I didn't have anything. I had 1 card higher than a 6 in my hand. That's even after a little bit of card draw. Another reason I was playing extremely conservatively is I just had no hand. The first bunch of flips that I did were a bunch of low cards. But on the other side, everything that Colonel was doing, he was, to his own models, he's flipping a severe. So he needed to add an item to, an upgrade on, he'd flip a 13, and he was flipping severe after severe after severe after severe. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at a bunch of, crappy cards. I've seen a bunch of crappy cards come through my deck at this point. Whenever I, needed to flip something, my deck has got to be warming up as this goes on, and so I'm hoping he's going to come in first turn. Versus I'm looking at his deck, and while he might have a decent hand, um, or say an average hand, I've seen a lot of his severes already pop up at this point, and on just things that he needed a 6 on. Here's a 12. Um, so in fact, I think Hannah might have taken some damage from the toss attack. She relented, and there were 2 severes and a moderate. Actually, it was a red joker. It was funny. It was a red joker, a severe, and a moderate. So um, I've even seen his red joker come out. So I'm feeling better right now, even though I'm staring down these 2 beaters. I still haven't activated my 2 beaters. So if he wants to come in, I've got a counter to it. So I would end up getting back to the game. I would end up running back with the Lone Marshal. I kind of wanted to keep him alive. I thought about cutting to the right and trying to make a run up that flank to take on that librarian, who's obviously moving over to flip another turf marker. But I really wanted him to come forward, so I ran back. So we got a fast Eric that just comes in, uh, takes a leap, charge. To complement Colonel here, take a look at the positioning of his model. He has blocked the um, the ability of the Death Marshal, so that when he kills my Exorcist, I will not be within line of sight, within the Aurora or whatever it's called. Was it White Man Black Circle? Of to exchange them out for a Death Marshal. So pretty clever positioning on his part. Something to always keep in mind is if you're playing some models with Auroras, can you use your own models to block their effects if need be. With that said, my Exorcist stands tall. 3 swings. 3 swings. He Black Jokered the damage on one. I Red Jokered the flip on another, so he missed. And I ended up using my 1 severe card in hand to force his miss on the last one. My thought being, again, the deck is swinging my way. I'll just depend on my deck to when I counterattack. So yeah, way to go, Exorcist. So the fur ball is really getting in there. I countercharge with Judge. He beats on Eric. He stones. He's got his armor 2. He's stoning. I think I might even hit a severe on, and so I'm using up his resources, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Hannah comes flying in, hits the first time, does. I don't think she's got, no, that's Eric where he spools up. Because he left, he couldn't spool up. He was a min damage 2. But Hannah, I think, was a min damage 3. She was hurting herself. So hits once. So because of the staggered, had to leap, then had to walk, and then charge. So, that stagger offset the fast. She had 2 swings. She just flat out missed one. By this point, his hand is pretty depleted. I've got plenty of cards. They just are worthless. And so he missed with 1, and he hit with the other, did 3 points. But again, Exorcist still standing tall. I think had 3 health left. So pretty happy with his ability to soak up a lot of AP from some pretty dangerous models. And so the inevitable counterattack, I positioned it so I could reach over Eric and hit Hannah 2 inches away there in case I get a mask. Lo and behold, I think I immediately flipped a 13 of masks. So again, banging on both of those models. Eric would be pretty hurt, down to maybe 2 health, but it used up all his stones. Hannah would take damage. I'd wear through her shielded. I think I hit a severe on Hannah as well on one of those. What is it? It's not counterattack. Quick reflexes attacks. And so, she's reeling a little bit. Lady J can put out the damage. Unfortunately, I had no masks in hand. All these crappy cards, and all I need is a 5 of masks. None of them were a mask, so I failed the leap and I had to charge. Otherwise, I'm not sure Eric survives that round with a positive to damage flips. That's right. He's down to 2 wounds, uh, and I hit. I think I got a positive on my, or it's a straight flip. Hit so well, and you can see I got a 12 on the swing there, and so Eric's going to go down first turn. Of course, never fails. Black Joker the damage flip. My turn to do that. So Eric survives to live another day. So we got turn 2. I win the initiative. I decide to go with the Exorcist, thinking he's dead, and so I swing twice. Again, my hand is utter garbage. I think I got a 13 of masks and then a bunch of nothing in there. Again, I'm sitting there going, how did I discard a whole bunch of cards from the last one and end up drawing I even stone, right? Because I felt this is one of those turns that it might be important. Did have a 7 of masks in hand, so if I needed a leap, but I was just like, oh God, okay, well my deck has to be hot. I discarded a bunch of 4 cards or 5 cards of complete garbage, and I've got another 5 cards of complete, or 4 cards of complete garbage in my hand. This deck's going to be hot, hopefully. And so I go with the Exorcist first, thinking, okay, maybe he can finish Eric off, and then he'll go down to Hannah. But with Eric dead, that opens up the line of sight. And I take the first swing, and I miss because I flipped the 2. I didn't want to use that 13 of masks because I'm thinking of better things. With Lady J there, and at this point, I think I should have just walked him to get line of sight and just concede that he was going to be died. But it's like, no, he can, he hits, I think he hit Eric again, does, a couple points, but the armor shrugs it off, and Eric's still alive. I do turn Eric into an undead. I accuse him of being an undead. I should have probably done that to Hannah, but Eric would have been fine, and this is, I think, where I make my first mistake. So he goes with Eric, kills the Exorcist, jumps back, tries to get out of there, couldn't quite get out of there. I think he had a trigger where he gets to place himself when he took swings at Lady J, which I thought was a little dangerous, and I take a couple points of damage, whatever. So then I go with Lady J, finish off Eric, which I forget to heal. I ditch a card to heal rather than the 2 that I heal for killing a model. I forget to spam focus out and about. I think honestly I should have gone with Judge. With him being undead, I could have just done that. What's his ability? His free ability, and try to finish him off, and then I could have charged Hannah and still had Lady J in the bank. Lady J, I do the coordinated, not quick reflexes, so I get 3 shots off on Hannah. I'm not flipping well, so I do some damage to Hannah, but and she's reeling. She's probably about halfway, maybe even a little less, but she's reeling a little bit, but still full in the fight. So a lot happens. This is the end of the turn. We'll get into it in a sec. I use my Death Marshal. I take a couple. So he goes with Hannah, buries the judge with a Glimpse of the Void trigger on whatever, does a bunch of damage. Um, the scoots up the rest of it. You can see he's got a nice wall of models. He's got 4 models. He's got Von Schill, Steam Trunk. You can see the Engineer's Leg right behind that, and then Pride. Um, the Librarian, this might be just before the end of the turn, would end up moving over, flipping that other turf marker. I charge out. I take a shot at the Librarian. I do like, min damage. And I was like, she'll just heal it right back up. Let me shoot Von Schill, put some pressure on, and I'm trying to talk it up. I'm being, what's another point of damage on a Librarian who's going to heal herself? Let me put some pressure on your Von Schill, blah, blah, blah. It's not fooling him. It doesn't fool Colonel one iota. He's, but I take a shot at Von Schill and I Red Joker the damage, which is great. It's like, oh. Actually, if I'd known I was going to do that, I would have shot the Librarian just to take her down. But my thought was if I do plink damage to Von Schill, I'm not really giving the Assassinate away, though. Colonel's got that in the back of his mind. He's keeping pretty good track there. But doing he's got no stones at this point. I think he might have used his last stone at that point, or if he might have used it on Hana. So he's out of the resources, which is I'm feeling pretty good about. Because my judge was in the void in jail, I end up moving both my my scales and my watcher, rather than going up the table, closer in, because Hannah did a pretty good number damage wise on him. I think hit him twice. He hit his first Glimpse of the Void test, but he failed his second one, and I want to get him close to some healing with the guild steward. So I move all my models kind of right in the middle, right where this picture is, just out of it. He pops up, he runs over, guild steward heals him, gets the 3 heal on him, feeling a lot better. But kind of ends there. We both don't declare anything. We both score for turf at this point. So this is early days, turn 3. I should mention during turn 2, because Von Schill took all that damage, the trunk came up, hit him, did heal like 3, and then survivalist. So I've just now starting to get the power of Von Schill's healing. So early days. He goes with Von Schill first. He wins the initiative. Oh, now, I was complaining about my hands the last 2. Ugh, this hand is the hand of God. It was perfect. I retained the 7 of masks in my hand for my leap from last one. And literally, I got it seared in my memory. I draw it, 9 of masks, 12 of crows, 13 of books, 13 of masks, Red Joker. I'm sitting there going, and if Hannah's still sitting, so it's like, do I just go in and finish Hannah off, or do I, can I get by her and take Von Schill down, start working on my assassinate, et cetera, et cetera. These are the thoughts going through my head. He wins the initiative, and he goes with Von Schill. Puts an upgrade or 2 out there, has the heal triggers. So Hannah gets healed like way up. And hand the rocket boots out with a trigger that she can use it immediately, and she rockets away. And so at this point, I'm thinking, I know what one of his schemes is. His scheme is claim jump. It's one of his favorites with Hannah. So he's keeping her topped up, kind of keeping her away from the mix. And so I think I do some items on the margin. I go with the guild steward because while I wanted to heal Judge, I wanted to get that focus out onto Lady J. With a Red Joker in hand, I wanted that focus out. So I go there. He goes with Pride, who shinnies up, and Pride's got this ability, which is uh, what was it? The song's all about you. Ah, screw that, you know. So he casts it onto my horse. Uh, you know, gets a severe. Um, I think I flipped a severe, so he uses, or I'm sorry, I flip a severe, you know, to block, but he matches it with a severe out of his hand, and that is target may discard up to 2 cards. For each card, the card does not, the for each card the target does not discard, it suffers 2 irreducible damage and gains distracted 1. Well, I just said I have a great hand. This just awesome hand, awesome hand. And I was like, God dang it. You know, I don't want it, so I take 4 damage and 2 distracted. Uh, and then he gets it off again, and I was like, you know, I'm holding on to these things because I want these cards for Lady J. So I do ditch the 7 of mass at that point just to take 2 damage, um, and so I end up saying, oh, you know, and I thought about um, what I should have done was the stagger to get rid of one of the distracted, and but then I don't do anything. I just say screw that. I run him away. Uh, with the idea that the birdie boy, the watcher will run over and put the distracted out. Um, but that put a big crimp in my plans. It's just again, no cards. I was gonna hold on to my hand. All right, so you can see here, this is me running away with the lone marshal, kind of get him out of dodge. You can see where I've moved the turn before I moved my watcher and the scales of justice so that judge wasn't off in some corner. Um, you know, he's back near the action. I need to keep him near the center. Um, Honestly, I should have sent the watcher up the flank, so if he wanted to pop it out there, but I know why I didn't, because I wanted to heal the judge. You could see the jury sitting up there keeping an eye. We were using that 40 mil base as a proxy as we were doing a lot of position. You can see the train is pretty tight going through there, especially with a turf marker being impassable. So there was a lot of kind of figuring out where Hannah and Eric could go, the Death Marshal recruiter as well. Um, but I'm sitting there going, okay, you know, still, look at that. I got focus on Lady J. I got Von Schill sitting out in the open who's already activated. I got 3 other models. I got a 13 in mask and a red Joker. You know, maybe a couple quick reflex strikes. Pride's already gone, so his manipulative is down. I'm set. This is good. So I go in. Yeah, I leap, and unfortunately, the leap just isn't far enough, so I do have to charge. Sorry for a little bit blurry here. I think I was just so freaking excited. This is an couple interesting items. Remember this shot for when I talk about my scheme selection at the end. But I go in, I hit Von Schill the first time using my focus. I flip a severe for damage, so I forget it. I'll just keep, my thought was I dumped the red Joker at that point, but I was like, I just take the severe. I still got the red Joker in hand. Um, the I think I used the 13 of mass, so I take a swing. I end up swinging at the field engineer, hitting him pretty good. Because he hadn't activated, I'm thinking if I can take him down, I can take an activation away. I swing again, hitting. This time I use my crow, so I give him stunned. And now I'm thinking, okay, and he's down to 2 wounds at this point. So, and remember, I got a red Joker in hand. I can force another hit through. He's out of stones, so now I can absolutely guarantee killing him. But he's like, nope, assassinate. I gotta make sure. He's still alive. So the steam trunk can't get him up above half. I'll let him be. I'm not going to swing at him at that point. I'm just going to take the point for assassinate. and then go from there. I ended up swinging and hitting the field engineer again. I think I did just some min damage to him. No triggers. I ended up, the only card at this point I have in hand is my red Joker. I'm saving that. If I can save it till next turn, great. In this particular case, or if someone swings at me, I could always dump it to try to keep her alive. Figuring he's got assassinate. It's another favorite of Colonel's. So Colonel reacts. You can see the engineer steps forward and punches at Lady J. This is when I dropped my red Joker, declare my counterattack trigger. I was hoping to take him off the board right then and there, but he survives the counterattack with, I think, 1 health, maybe 2 left. I move Judge up to score my claim jump, run him forward. Hannah just sits there and pulverizes Lady J. We're both out of cards at this point with Ancient Words. She gets both of them off, didn't do the glimpse until the second hit, which I was able to successfully top deck off of. But since I'd used a lot of my stones to keep Judge, up and not taking as much damage, she's now below half. Oh, I have to say, god dang, Steam Trunk earlier in the turn before I went in used a rocket launcher, hit Lady J. I was like, I'll take it, and then of course severes it and blasts onto both the scales and Judge. I used my last stone at that point to avoid damage on Judge. So I'm just at the scoring point. If I had just one more health somewhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if I forgot about my lead line code at one point. I could have kept her above half. With that said, and obviously, I think I walked up and shot. Maybe, I don't know what the hell I did with the Death Marshal there. Death Marshal Recruiter. He kind of was used. He just wandered around in circles the entire game. Anyways, so I declare assassinate and claim jump. He declares assassinate. We both score. We both score the strat as well at the end of the turn. So this is the only picture I took of turn 4. About halfway. This is about halfway through. I draw a hand. It's absolute garbage. I've got 113. It's the 13 of masks as well. I use it to try to win initiative, thinking that's the most important. I do have a 5 of masks, so I know I got my leap with Lady J. So I use it. He burns a 13 to force a reflip. He wins that. I've got nothing higher than, I think, a 8 in my, in the final. So he goes with Von Schill. I don't think he's got a good hand either. I'm pretty sure he doesn't, because he didn't cheat very much this turn. So we both are sitting on pretty crappy hands. He walks forward. He does, gives himself, did he give himself something so he could heal a little bit? Walks forward. Takes a couple swings at Lady J, hoping to finish her off, or charges. I guess he's got diving charge, so he charged forward. Takes Lady J down. The upside is he's stunned, so he couldn't heal. He was stunned. So there were Colonel spent a lot of time thinking, does he run away? Does he, do a diving charge to get away and just run into the corner? But he's thinking, with leap, I'd probably be able to pursue, et cetera, et cetera. So he takes the offensive route, diving charge in, swings 3 times. Some hits, some not, but it's all just min damage at this point. But gets Lady J down to 2 health. So I go with Lady J, but I got no cards. And oh man. So I swing away. Could not finish him off. I think I don't think I hit him and did any damage to him. 3 swings with Lady J. It was pretty atrocious. So I leap away and try to hide. After I swung the second time, I should have just leapt away and then ran into the corner. Probably would have been a better better decision. He would end up, so you can see Lady J just sitting there behind the Death Recruiter Marshal, or Death Marshal Recruiter. Um, Pride would run around and so he would do a bunch of healing. So this is the Librarian's running over, heals up on Schill. Oh my God, with that +1 to heal. He's just healing like crazy. Steam Trunk. I don't know what the steam Trunk does. Oh, hits it with the Surette. More healing. Um, Pride would run over and do his damn whatever the hell that thing is again, but with only 2 wounds. And I think what was it? Oh, so I've used 2 cards. I've got 4 cards in hand. I must have used one other card. I probably had like a 9. I tried to force a hit through. So I've got 3 cards in hand. He comes over, does his ability. I drop 2 cards to avoid the damage. Does it again, gets it off again. Again, he's not cheating. These are just all top deck. But I only got 1 card, so Lady J goes down, guaranteeing his second point of assassinate. I would charge the judge over, trying to finish Von Schill off. Just doesn't work. No bueno. The Watchers over there fluttering away, trying to get the distracted off. I don't know. God, the Scales of Justice is just kind of useless. It's kind of useless. He's running around just making sure that if when Lady J died, I lost the turf marker, so he had to run over and flip it back, etc., etc. So this is turn 5. I think this is our only shot. I lost track of what turn we were on, and I badly mispositioned the Watcher last turn. After I got rid of the distracted on Mr. Lone Marshal, I should have had him out in the middle. My thought was, oh, it's only turn 3. If Hannah's the claim jump person, when she moved in, I would, so next turn, he would jump in and deny it, blah, 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 get close. But then I was like, God dang it, it's turn 5, not turn 4. So I charged the Guild Marshal or the Guild Steward forward, trying to get some slow off. It doesn't work. On Pride, Pride beats up the Death Marshal a little bit. Not a lot going on here. Someone had flipped the center marker, I should say, last turns, giving him, 3 turf at this point. I was able to kill the Field Engineer last turn, which flipped the one in the back. So Student of Conflict ran back there and flipped it back. He's got Von Schill safely tucked away, so I can't get there. So I'm not going to get my second assassinate. So my focus right now is to somehow denying the claim jump on Hannah. So I'm shooting everything, scoot over, take 2 shots at Hannah, take shots over those barrels from the recruiter. There might be another shot here, end of game shot. Heck, I even sent the Watcher in trying to do more damage. You could see Judge running around to score my second claim jump. Von Schill comes forward, throws the Death Marshal Recruiter out of the way, and engages the Guild Guild Steward there. So he comes around. I get Judge into the middle, as I said, to score my final claim jump. He declares take prisoner on the Guild Steward. He's engaging the Guild Steward, so he gets his final point there. So my guess on Hannah for claim jump was off, and that pretty much ends it at that point. So he would score 3 for the strategy, 2 for assassinate, and 1 for take prisoner. I would score 2 for claim jump, 2 for the strategy, and 1 for assassinate. So he, Von Schill beats Lady J 6-5. He could have done one item. I think he got a little. I don't know if he didn't quite read the end game for take prisoner versus the reveal, and so he wanted to get the death marshal out of, away from the guild steward. So he came in with Von Schill through the guild, and he had the card to do it. And nothing I could do about it. Through the death marshal recruiter out of the way. I don't think he needed to do that because he was already engaging the guild steward with pride. He could have come in and tossed the judge out and scored a little bit better, victory. He won either way. There's just nothing I could do about it. Could have been 6-4, 6-5. So win to Colonel. Pretty good game, and I'll give my thoughts. All right, let's start with my selection of a crew here. And again, you realize this is informed with I've never played these models in M3E. Lady Justice did fine. One thing that really disappoints me, and maybe it's because I play Tony Ironsides a lot, is her counterattack is A, not built in, and B, is not after resolving, it's after succeeding, which means she needs to win the duel to be able to counterattack. Now her hit is a little bit harder, even though it's a negative flip. So that's certainly, versus Tony, I should say. But I would rather have built in and after resolving, it's more consistent, obviously. And then, with defense 5, again, she was defense 6, where you think, she could win some of these duels much more easily. Great. But yeah, it just the trigger's just not that great. You want those high masks for attacking with her, to get the quick reflexes off, and at least make her defense 6. I think it needs that, so you have some decent resemblance of winning some of these duels. Defense 5 just does not cut it when you got to win a duel to hit back. Judge is a good tank. Not tank, I'm sorry, beater. Pretty tanky too. I'm perfectly happy with that. I really like the Lone Marshal. 14-inch gun, running gun, fast, handing out staggered. I thought, it doesn't have the ride with me that the Pale Rider has. So, I think they're going to always be challenging on which one to take. But the Lone Marshal, he did work. He had the one turn where I, purposely took damage rather than discarding cards, and kind of took him out of the game for a turn. And certainly took him out of position to affect the game later. But, other than that, he did everything I asked him to. Watcher's fine for a scheme runner. For model, I didn't really belong in this particular scheme pool. Exorcist, he was the early MVP. That was more luck than anything else. He is what he is. I think he's a good tech piece against certain crews. Just not, he didn't do anything. Guild Steward, I just misplayed this guy. I treated him like a backline scheme runner / healer, but his healing is a free action, which is good. It's a good heal, it gives out focus, but I should have just had him wandering towards that center marker now. Yeah, with the take prisoner in there, probably good shot that Von Schill runs up, tosses him back, back towards his line to get that first point to take prisoners. But at the same time, he would have been putting pressure on, throwing out slow, maybe flipping that center marker, doing a bunch of stuff instead of just kind of jimmy jacking around. Death March Recruiter didn't do anything. Honestly, just kind of stood there. I didn't have him in good positions. He's fine. He shot. He did some damage. Never really got a chance to box anybody. And he's fine. We'll see. I think he's another tech piece. And so what I think I'm struggling with is, and so the jury. Why didn't I take the jury? And I could have, getting a little tight on points, especially with assassinating the pool. And the bays would have been helpful. So I think expect to see the jury in there next go around. The bays might have been useful in forcing him to do things. Um, I probably would have been a little bit more useful, certainly more useful than the Death Marshal Recruiter. I don't know. I would have to replace two models, making me a little elite. So with the crew I had, what could I have taken better? Certainly take prisoner is an option with what he had. Maybe the field engineer is not too scary. Could have been messing around with him. The concern I always have is he could throw rocket boots on and blast them out, even if they've already activated. Outflank, I think, is where I missed the boat. I think I could easily have scored outflank, and let me show you why. Looking at the board, if you take a look at this big building, remember that's a big piece of impassable. I could have tucked a model in. Scales of Justice, useless piece of junk, could have sat there, but a significant model. And just, draw me a card a turn and sit there. He'd have a tough time getting to him. He'd have to go through my crew to loop around. He's got rocket boots, but he'd have to take a long way. He can't just jump over the building entirely. He'd have to, and I'd be able to react. On the other side, I got a Watcher. Watcher could have gone and scored and then tried to mess with the, a turf marker in his backfield. The Lone Marshal could have gone over there, scored it, run and gun out to do some shooting, and then on the last turn get back there. So I think I left a point on the table I could have gotten. And if I had taken Outflank versus Assassinate, this is go back to when Lady J went in and he had a whole host of crew, lined up for me, and I went after Von Schill. If I wasn't so focused on killing Von Schill, I could have probably have taken out at least two of those, Pride and his engineer, and kind of gutted his crew in some ways. I still got Von Schill running around doing his thing, or just kill Von Schill. I had the cards to do it. Nothing he could have done about it. So now he's down to his master ability to throw out a bunch of the upgrades versus trying to manipulate an assassinate point. It's always good to take down an enemy master, and it never ever hurts. So I think from choosing schemes, I did not choose wisely. Choosing the crew, that's more just lack of understanding of some of the models. I thought Colonel played a pretty tight game. He was pushing the pace, keeping the battle on my side. The Lady J was able to flip it there for a little bit. Kept pretty good focus on his schemes versus my schemes. He did lose a little bit at the end where he could have denied me that last claim jump. But other than that, I think he played a pretty tight game. Honestly, I was super impressed with Von Schill. Maybe it's, playing a crew I'm not familiar with, but seems like between all the armor, the shielding, it can be passed out, a lot of the flexibility, if you take some other crew members, he could have taken some of his 5-point free core models, had them sit back, throw out the rocket launchers and just have them just shooting away with those. There's I think a couple different builds you could go with Von Schill, which makes him interesting to me. I think he can be taken into a number of different situations. The healing is crazy, insane with all the survivalists, and easy access to healers, as well as some triggers that heal one that end up healing two because of survivalists. So very durable crew, and I think they, and Eric and Hannah can hit hard. Maybe a little pricey. Some speed can be introduced with the way that he used Student Conflict to hand out fast, and the rocket boots, of course. So I think Von Schill's got some serious play. I think the jury will be out, so to speak, with Lady J. We'll give her a couple more games just to see what I feel. And of course, you see at the top there are two other clubmates. They both play Rezzers. There was a little Rezzer off. That was Von Stuck versus McMorning. Yeah, I think Lady J does a little bit better job in both of those, against both of those. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the battle report. I'm going to keep doing these. I have fun with it. As I look at the table, and it helps me kind of process the game. I hope you're enjoying them. If there's any way that you want me to change the format, I'm not. I'll leave the high-end battle reports to, Andres out of Sweden. He does a fantastic job, or Third Floor Wars, or the podcast, with all the bells and whistles, the schemes, and Third Floor, and hopefully some other ones that pop up. But, this is kind of a little stream of conscious battle reporting. Hope you guys enjoy it. Talk to you later. Bye.